Unfortunately.
And then, like, if it was you that lost it, I probably would have just dug into it. Actually, you know what? In this scenario, I don't think I would have.
Well, let me ask you this question, because I always ask myself this. When you lose a nice fish like that, would you have rather not seen it, or are you happy that you got to see it? Like I said in the fishing report, I don't know where the fishing report is in this episode, if it's later or if it's now, but Yellow Dog Paddle, Mike Herman, continues to stay on the fish. Put up a skillful angler landlocked salmon this week. The salmon are still, pretty cooperative. He said the lake trout are suspended, so the trolling on Merrill Creek's pretty good. He's done with Round Valley for the season, and he's starting on Spruce Run. He caught a couple giant hybrids, a couple really big crappie, couple perch, white perch actually, and he has a nice mixed bag. So Mike Herman's on the fish. He switched lakes now. Doesn't want to fish Round Valley and be killing the trout in these warm temperatures, but he did say that the hybrids that he's catching on Spruce Run, they're very big. I see in the pictures too, they look like nice fish. So if you want to get involved in some of that trolling action, Yellow Dog Paddle, Mike Herman, give them a call today. Hello, and welcome to episode number 65 of the NJ Multi-Species Podcast, although I do think it's number 67. But I am your host, Joe Santiago, and as always, my partner, Chris Pereira.
There's no way it's 67. Deuce has never been wrong. He's told you the number every single time.
All right, whatever. It's number whatever. I don't care.
You couldn't even remember what you did last episode.
No, probably not.
No, I know for a fact you forgot the conversation we just had. Keep going.
We'll get right into the freshwater fishing report. You fished Merrill Creek Reservoir. You want to talk about that?
I mean, you don't have to blow up the name of the place every single time I'm going to talk about it.
I mean, it's the only place you fish at this point. Everyone knows that's where you are.
No, I'm bass fishing. I mean, it's the middle of summer. Like, there's not a ton of things that you can do. I mean, right?
I mean, no. If you go trout fishing in the river, you're probably going to kill anything you catch.
Dude, catching a trout in the lake at this point going to kill it. I caught.
I'm going to get into that with mine.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, I'm saying even I'm fishing for. Basically, I'm fishing for smallmouth bass. Like, I'm fishing for the smallmouth bass, like the big one, and I'm kind of also hoping for some salmon to come by. That hasn't happened. So I don't know. I don't know how Yellow Dog Paddle's nailing them so consistently. I'm not trolling, but that's obviously the ticket for those. And I can tell you right now, like I've trolled the other lakes for them very successfully. I was never able to troll them there successfully. We've caught them on the herring, caught them jigging for lake trout. We used to catch them all the time. That kind of doesn't happen as much anymore now, but haven't seen one yet. Anyway, so while I'm drop shotting, I caught 2 rainbow trout drop shotting, trying for the big smallmouth. One of them swam away. The other one's dead. It was eagle food, which is fine by me. I mean, in my opinion, they shouldn't even be putting them in there. I mean, they don't grow in there. Put them in Round Valley. Put them in the streams. Like they do. I don't know why the state still stocks rainbow trout into Merrill Creek. I don't know if you have an opinion on.
They don't. Well, yeah, they don't grow.
They don't. I've never seen or heard of anyone catching a big one in there. I'm sure somebody maybe has at some point.
That's weird too, because the brown trout used to get so enormous. You would think the rainbows would get huge.
Yeah, the brown trout fishery was great. Now the salmon fishery is phenomenal. Almost many would argue too good. It's affecting the other fisheries there. But I guess it's just the way they feed. I guess rainbows just. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I'm assuming rainbow trout aren't really designed for open water
They're kind
feeding.
of no, they're suicidal. They're like sea bass.
Well, whatever. Anyway, so we have been catching some pretty nice smallmouth. I have two unfortunate stories though. So we brought, well, not the first one's not unfortunate. We brought Katie's cousin out there, 13-year-old cousin or cousin's kid, I should say. Is that a second cousin? I'm not even sure. What's your cousin's kid to you? Is that a second cousin?
No,
Is it just your cousin's kid?
it's your cousin. I don't know. It's too confusing. It's like your first cousin once removed or something. It's too confusing to get involved in.
So, Katie's cousin's kid is 13 years old. He likes fishing. He goes with his friends and like the streams and stuff. Never fished from a boat. So I've been keeping my boat. Deuce is telling us his first cousin once removed. Thanks,
Yeah, it
Deuce.
means your first cousins, but your grandparents are separated by one generation.
All right, whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so we invite him fishing. He wants to. All right, so we go fishing. All right, I'm like, what's the biggest fish? Oh, he said he caught I think a 5-pound largemouth somewhere, whatever. I'm sure he didn't weigh it, but him and his buddies caught a big largemouth one. That was his biggest fish. I said, all right, we're fishing for smallmouth. I'm like, you ever caught smallmouth? He caught small ones in the river. You know what I mean? I said, all right, we'll get you your biggest smallmouth. So first big smallmouth we hooked, the thing jumps, throws the hook, kid loses it. I'm like, all right, don't worry. We'll get another one. All right. It was big, but it wasn't like mind blowing. So hooks another one. He's fighting this nice fish. He gets it in. Nice long fight thing. Took a couple runs, kept bulldogging him, jumped a couple times. But jumped kind of far out. It's hard to tell how big it was. Scooped this thing in the net, dude. It's a big fish. It would have taken first place right now in the NJ multi-species madness contest. It was 22 and a half inches long. Freaking thing was giant.
Did you have him submit it?
I took the picture for him to submit to Skillful Angler, but obviously he's not in the NJF contest. I mean, I'm sure some people would have taken it for themselves for the contest. I didn't do it. I'm going to submit it for him to Skillful Angler. So it's not a bullshit story. There's a picture of it on the ruler, 22 and a half inches.
That'll be the new Skillful Angler leader, right?
Yeah, I mean, the kid, that was about the size of Dwayne's fish that won last year. I mean, the kid's probably going to win the Skillful Angler smallmouth category for the year, which is awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is
now, cool. The second story is bad. So me and Katie go back there 2 days later, and we go fishing. Now, we hooked another big smallmouth, and Katie's fighting it for a while. I almost thought it was a salmon. It took so many runs, and it was so, strong. Thing comes up next to the boat, a couple of feet out of net range, comes up to the surface. This fish was bigger than the one that the kid had 2 days earlier. Fresh in my memory, so I could see it bigger than that. I mean, who knows until, you get it out of the water and you measure it. Maybe it was really, really fat and not quite as long, or it looked gargantuan to the 22 and a half inch smallmouth. It was the fish, the biggest smallmouth I've ever seen in my life. And it shook its head in the water and the hook just popped right out.
You almost
And
sound like you're gonna cry talking about it.
dude, I felt like I was gonna puke.
You
I
still
actually
look a little nauseous right now.
I actually felt like I was gonna puke.
I don't. I mean, I know. I'm sure. If it
And I'm
was
like,
really, I mean, that big of a small, I can't imagine. Especially if you're saying it was that big.
dude, and it's not like the other fish was fresh in my memory, like
Yeah,
fresh. I remember seeing it come up in the water. I'm the one who slid the net under it and netted it. It was the same exact scenario. I'm sitting there with the net. I see that fish come up into view near the surface and start coming towards the net. I saw the size. I remember the size difference. It was bigger, like
that's crazy.
just gargantuan, dude. And I literally felt like I was gonna puke, and like she starts crying, and I'm like, it's not
Crying.
your fault. Like, oh yeah,
Oh God.
like I like look,
Like
it
Max.
it happened. I mean, she thought I was blaming her. I'm like, I'm not blaming. Like it happens. Like we all lose fish,
Yeah,
but
I did a
like
salmon.
if I lost that fish, I would have felt the same way. I would have puked.
I did the same thing with that salmon. So I know. I know the drill.
And then like
Unfortunately.
if it was you that lost it, I would have just been. I probably would have just dug into it. Actually, you know what? In this scenario, I don't think I would have.
Well, let me ask you this question because I always ask myself this. When you lose a nice fish like that, would you have rather not seen it, or are you happy that you got to see it?
I've asked myself and others this question many times, and it's like the deepest philosophical question that you could ever ask any angler. I feel like because, like right now, my answer would be, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I can convince myself it was
But yeah, you would
snagged
say it's a carp,
catfish.
yeah, or a carp. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you asked Nick. You asked Nick Massa. Every time Luke loses a fish on his boat, he convinces himself it was a carp.
But now at the same time, aren't you at least somewhat lucky that you did at least get to see it?
No, I feel like no, I'm not. I know they're in there. I don't need to see it right before we lose it to know that it's in there. But that being said, the philosophical part of this is if I'm fighting a fish. Now, if I'm not the one fighting the fish, I would never know because everyone has their own. Like if she's saying it's huge, okay, it's probably big. I don't, it could be huge or it could be kind of big. You know what I mean? If you're fighting it yourself and you've caught a lot of whatever the species is that you're targeting in that place, and you kind of know what the
Yeah.
different sizes feel like when they're fighting you. So let's say you're fighting one and you're pretty sure it's a really big one and you lose it before seeing it. I bet you then your answer to this question would be the opposite. You'd wish, oh, I wish I just got to see it. But
I've lost two giant fish on the Delaware River that I never got to see, and to this day, it still boggles my mind what exactly they were. I would have loved to have seen either one of them, but yeah, I understand that too. That not seeing them.
I will say this: the ones that haunt me the worst, I could spit out a list right now. Every single one of them, I got a glimpse of what it was
Yeah, yeah.
before I lost it. Except for there's maybe one or two where I'm fishing for something very specific and I lose it, and I'm almost positive it was what I was fishing for and I lost it. But in those scenarios, it's usually the first of a species that I'm going for. So the size isn't as important. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess in a way. We went, me, Max, Kevin went out on Round Valley, did the night fishing thing. Surface temperature was 82 degrees. So, yeah, any trout that came up were not probably going to survive, but we got lucky that most of them were keepers. So we limited out fairly quick. I ran out of gas, so I had to use the electric to get out there and the electric to get back in.
It's always something, dude.
Me and Kevin somehow limited the boat. Well, Kevin limited the boat out. I caught a Laker and a couple rainbows before Max even got a bite. Max never had even a hit.
Dude, but let's go back to like you run out of gas. You ran out of battery power on the electric only lakes. You run out of gas on the gas power. Like the suffer for the fish is
No, I didn't
just
even,
like
I didn't even
you
run
don't
out of
have
gas.
to you don't
I
have
showed
to
up
force
with
the suffering.
I didn't even run out of gas. I showed up with no gas. Like I just
God.
thought there was gas in the boat, and I got there
Worse.
and I squeezed the primer ball, and it's just soft, and there's nothing in. And then Kevin's rocking the boat back and forth, and there's this silence coming from the tank. So it was about an hour ride out to where I wanted to fish, electric only, and but yeah, we got on them quick. The fishing was great. I got criticized and bashed all over the internet, especially by the trout parade. Trout fishermen just continue to be the most ridiculous babies on the fishing earth. I'm one of them. But I did, Chris, I wanted to clear this part up. I have this, the Webster Dictionary of Fishing.
Okay.
It is the activity of catching fish, either for food or as a sport.
Okay.
That's the definition. That's it. End.
So it doesn't say anything about just dangling stuff in the water, and
it doesn't say what you have to use. It doesn't say what to wear. It doesn't say what you need to do, what you have to like, or it just says it is the activity of catching fish. What the fuck is so hard for you people to comprehend with that?
I'm surprised it doesn't say the activity of trying to catch fish. So if I go fishing and I don't catch anything, what the hell did I just do?
It says the activity of catching fish, either for food or as sport.
That raises the question: is if I go fishing and I don't catch any fish, what the hell did I just do? According to Webster's dictionary. Webster's dictionary, I need an answer because it happens sometimes.
It just happened to Max. It happens to Max a lot.
So what the hell was Max doing out there? He wasn't fishing. He
was hanging out with two fishermen.
Look, and just before we leave this topic, I do want to make clear that, and if it's not in some of the clips or whatever, that type of fishing, that night fishing for the trout, you are there to catch trout that you are going to keep.
That's a freezer trip, yeah.
This is not a catch and release type of fishing. So,
but I want to just add the corn picture that was the corn picture was posted deliberately just to piss people off. What happened with the corn picture was when you do that green light fishing, maybe like every 15 or 20 minutes, I'll throw a handful of corn into the green light it just sinks in the green light and it stays there. So for some reason, I thought Max knew what he was doing. And I, he was sitting behind me and I had said, Max, go ahead. It's time to start chumming. I turn around. He's dumping whole cans of corn in. Like I'm looking in the green light. There is an ocean of corn. Dude, it was unbelievable. I mean, you could see corn glowing for a half a mile down the lake. And then Kevin's filleting the fish. They have like softball size corn in them. Like they're filled with corn. Max was, I don't know what to say. So yeah, we posted the picture of the result of what a corn abuser like Max can do to the ecosystem.
Well, I mean, I guess this is probably a question for one of the fish biologists. We probably should have asked AVNJ this, but it's my understanding that fish do ingest many things that they can't digest. They eat pebbles off the bottom. They eat rock. It just kind of goes through them. And I think that's what happens with the corn.
But just like you said, there's a time and a place for everything, and that specific trip is to go and fill a cooler with trout for a couple meals. That's what it's for. It's not for, there's a million other fishing trips I go on that are catch and release. That specific one isn't one of them. That one is a keep trip, and that's all there is to it. I don't know how else to explain this to you people.
I mean, look, at this point, with everything on the internet, you either have to laugh at half the shit people say, or
These
you
guys are doing some kind of they're doing a war dance around a campfire with this stringer of they have 6 9-inch trout on this little green string, and they're dancing around. It's like they just achieved something unbelievable. But then you pull 2 of these fish out of a lake and they go insane. Like, oh my God. Oh, they used corn. Like, what are you talking?
I don't think the guys trying to mock you for doing this are the same guys that are keeping 6 freshly stocked stream trout.
I think they are.
No, I think I think this is the fly fishing guys.
I'm one of those too, and I hate them.
Well, you said it, not me. But yeah, I mean, look, it's like it's the dog days of summer. We had this ridiculous heat wave.
Well, that's another thing I want to say too. If you go pike fishing, you have to be careful with the pike because you could kill a pike right now fairly easily.
I mean, yeah, really. I mean, really, you could kill it. There's going to be some species that are more, more prone to dying from the hot surface temperatures than not. But yeah, like pike they're a cold water species. I think I mentioned this the last time, or maybe even the last 2 times. Try to use heavier gear so that the fight's shorter. Try, take a picture with the fish. Like, have everything ready. Like, bring a friend. Don't try to do it by yourself. I always cringe a little bit when I see people musky fishing and pike fishing by themselves because I've been there. You can't tell me you can consistently, safely photograph or measure that fish successfully and release it.
Especially from a kayak.
I mean, bring a friend. Like, having an extra set of hands if you want to take a nice picture. Like, if you like to document your fishing, like most people, and you want to take a picture, bring a friend if you can. Like, that extra set of hands when you catch a nice pike, especially in the summer when you want to release it quick so it doesn't die. Yeah, it's just, but yeah, like I said, I mean, if we accidentally caught 2 rainbow trout fishing for smallmouth, one of them died, like 100%, just croaked immediately. Like, couldn't even unhook it and put it back in the water quick enough. It was just dead. And then, I threw it away from the boat so the eagles could get it. I mean, it's not going to go to waste, but the point is, if you want to release the fish in the summer, there's some species that are more prone to dying. So, take a couple extra steps so it doesn't happen as often. I mean, it's going to happen no matter what. We're not here, like, we're not members of PETA here. We're fishing. Like, you're jamming a hook into a fish's mouth for sport, whether you're going to keep it or not. I mean, there's got to be somewhere you got to draw a line.
All right, we're going to go to our guest. I think our guest is ready to bring in. Yeah, let's bring our guest in. Eddie Mackin over at Mackin's Rippin' Lips Fishing Trips. Like I said before in the fishing report, the hybrid striped bass fishing, really, really good during the day. Kronk went out with him the other day, caught a couple monsters. He's still running the red eye trips. If you get bored and have no one to fish with, the red eye's available. Call, put your name on the list. Pontoon boats, still available for rent. He's not really doing booze cruises yet, but he's doing fishing trips, pontoon boats. So 8 people, you want to go fishing. It's fairly affordable. Lake Apacon, Mackin's Rippin' Lips fishing trip. Okay, so our next guest is Evan Padua from Sweetwater Guide Service. Sweetwater Guide Service has been very well known on the upper reaches of the Delaware River for over 30 years. Evan's now operating the business with his father. Evan, welcome to the NJ Multi-Species Podcast.
Thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
What's going on? Welcome, dude. This feels like deja vu, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, we were just before you came in here, we were just talking about how you basically at this time of the year, if you were to decide to go trout fishing, you'd have to be extra careful with not killing a fish because of the warm water temperatures. You guys, you have kind of much colder water there than us, right?
Yeah, it kind of depends on where you're fishing. But if I'm targeting trout, I'm going on the West Branch this time of year to stay in that cold tailwater fishery. The West Branch of the Delaware is pretty well known. But I kind of pride myself in that multi-species world. Like this time of year, I'm mostly fishing for smallmouth bass. So I kind of transition out of trout fishing in the middle of the summer and kind of go back into it in the fall a little bit, but it depends on the day and the conditions.
Do you switch because of that? Because it's harder to release them, or it's just the fishing's better for the smallmouth up there right now, or?
Yeah, I mean, typically when you see water temperatures steadily over 68 degrees, you're not going to be you really shouldn't be fishing for trout unless you're planning on keeping them. In that scenario, typically also you're not going to catch the trout you want to catch if the water is that warm. The bigger fish are not going to be biting. You're probably going to catch a lot of really small rainbow trout if you target trout at a higher temperature. And really, it's just not. It's if you're a catch and release fisherman, yeah, you really shouldn't target them above 68, 70 degrees. That 66 really. But you definitely can in colder water. So I do fish. Like if I get guys who want to fish, I have a couple of trout trips coming up, and we'll be on the West Branch, and we'll be targeting trout. And I'm not someone who likes to overplay fish. Some guys will hook a fish on 6X tippet and fight them for 25 minutes and get them in. And even if you're in 55-degree water, if you fight a fish for 20 minutes, there's a pretty good chance that fish isn't going to survive. So I don't use 6X tippet ever. I don't think I've ever tied 6X tippet on a client's rod in my entire career of 14 years of guiding. Because I don't like breaking fish off and I want to get the fish to the net. I don't want to fight it for an extended period of time. So yeah, that's kind of that ethical thing where it's, get the fish in, land it, maybe you take a picture of it in the net in the warm temps. If you just lift it up, take a quick picture and let it go, as long as it's not bleeding or anything, it's probably going to be fine. But yeah, you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful.
Yeah, and then that's like you just sparked something in my mind because it's this battle in our heads as anglers a lot of the time when you're fishing in clearish water or you're fishing for a fish that's spooks easily or whatever, and you want to downsize your line, but obviously you don't want to lose a fish. You don't want to overfight a fish and end up killing it. And there's this, unless it's just me, but there's this constant battle in my mind. Like, should I switch from 8 to 6? Should I switch from 6 to 4? Am I going to hook something? Am I going to hook that one big fish and break it off because I went too low? Or am I not going to get bit because I went too high? And it's just this constant battle. I know you do it, Joe, because you freak out about everything.
That's true. Yes. I've had times in the Catskills where I cannot get a fish to hit a dry fly with 6X tippet, but it'll hit it with 7X tippet. But it'll immediately break it off as soon as it hits the fly. But I at least got him to hit it, I guess. But yeah, it breaks immediately.
See, I'd almost rather not.
Yeah, I would argue that it's more about the presentation than it is the tippet itself.
I
in
agree.
this,
Joe probably
this
sucks at fly fishing.
well, I mean, every situation is different. I would say that a lot of times, I might just keep on putting that fly in there until the timing is right. Because if a fish is steadily feeding, or if it's got a lie and it's behind that boulder and he's feeding every couple of minutes or something, it's more about like the correct fly and then the presentation at the right time. I really don't think there's a single fish out there that is going to turn down a fly on 5X versus 7X because of the diameter of the line. I mean, I could be wrong, but I've caught the tiniest little grayling on 5X tippet, fishing in crystal clear water. And like, there's a lot of situations where, I feel like 5X is kind of it's a thin enough line that typically you're going to be able to get a fish to eat your fly. But again, every situation is different. I just choose not to really go lower test than 5X based on I don't like leaving flies in fish's mouths really at all. It happens. It definitely happens. I fish a lot. It happens all the time, but I'd prefer it to happen less than it does, even if possible.
Do you mostly, when customers call, do they ever want to spin fish, or do you only do fly fishing?
No, I spin fish as well. I do what it takes to catch fish. I love fly fishing and I also love spin fishing. So we kind of, that's one reason I'm excited to do this podcast. That your name of your podcast is Multi-Species Podcast, right? And so spin fishing and fly fishing. Today on the river, I had a fly fisherman and a spin fisherman. We caught 4 species of fish. We caught smallmouth bass, red breast sunfish, rock bass, and fall fish. And the fly fisherman caught 4 species himself. And then the one of the other spin fishermen, I think he caught 2, maybe 3, but he didn't get 4 himself. But so that's the thing, is I cater to any angler. I love to, do what it takes to catch fish. A lot of times as a guide, it also is do what it takes to get that person into a fish, whether it's, rigging up a nymph rod on a fly rod and parking in the right spot and getting them the right cast, or is it, positioning the boat in a deep run for, with a spinner and teaching them how to swing a spinner through a deep run or something like that. So, I'm an all around angler, man. I like to fish for pretty much every kind of fish out there, and I do it in a lot of different ways.
Dude, couldn't have said it any better myself. I mean, you're our type of guy for sure. And this is funny. I don't know did you happen to see our video? So Joe loves fly fishing, and him and I bust each other's balls all the time about it. I usually prefer like if I'm walking the streams in New Jersey, I'm ultralight spin fishing. To me, it's more effective in that scenario. So that's how I do it. If I thought that fly fishing in that specific scenario was going to get me bigger fish or more fish, like that's what I'd be doing. I'm not fly fishing because I just don't want to. If I go upstate and into a different scenario, there's a better bug hatch or whatever, and someone who's familiar with the area tells me, yeah, fly fishing is, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it that way. I may experiment and find something else to be true, but I'm going to do it. But Joe went trout fishing with one of our buddies, and instead of fly fishing this one time, like, was this the first time, Joe, that you ever went trout fishing?
It was probably the first time in, it's got to be at least 15, I'll say 10 years to be safe, at least 10 years.
First time in 10 years probably that he went trout fishing in a stream in New Jersey with a ultralight spin setup instead of a fly setup, and he caught this real big, beautiful brown trout. And he posted this video, and just thousands of comments just bashing him for catching a trout on a spin rod instead of a fly fishing rod.
Yeah, I got wrecked for that.
I thought it was so funny. And I'm on there just like egging people on because I know he's a fly fisherman. This is the first time he's, like, in all those years that he's even done this. And it's just like people are freaking crazy. Like
There,
what does it matter?
It is funny to see the distance between a diehard fly fisherman and then just a standard guy who likes to go out and fish and occasionally toss a spinning rod in. I'd like to, at this moment, I think is a good time to give a shout out to Lard Almighty, the guy who connected us to be on this podcast, because he went through the same thing, Joe. He posted a lot of pictures of catching big trout with Sweetwater Guide Service up here on the Upper Delaware. And people were bashing him pretty hard for spin fishing. And he said, okay, next time I'm going to bring my fly rod. And he brought his fly rod. And if you dig back in some of his older videos, he brought his fly rod up, went out with my old man. He caught like 3 or 4 really nice trout in the first couple hours of the float trip on his fly rod. And he said, great, that was fun, gentlemen. I like to fly fish, but I prefer to spin fish. So I'm going to put the fly rod away, pick up my spinning rod, and continue to spin fish. And he did get some praise that guys said, "Oh, good job, you did it with the fly rod too." And I mean, I think we can all agree that he's a pretty good angler. I mean, if you've seen any of his videos, the guy fishes all the time. He's gonna, you put a rod in a guy like that's hand, it doesn't matter what it is, he's gonna catch some fish. So you know, the reality is you know, a big brown trout is going to eat meat more than it's going to eat a bug. There's certain times a year that you can catch a big brown trout on a bug, but it's more likely that it's going to eat a minnow or some type of fish than it is a bug, unless there's a really good hatch or you're really good with a fly rod in the right scenario. There's certain hatches of the year that bring those bigger fish to the surface, or those bigger fish to eat bugs. But I would say 10 months out of the year, you're more likely to catch a big brown trout if you're using a fly rod on a streamer, or at night with a mouse pattern, or something that is literally a carnivorous creature, not a bug necessarily. And then, you know, for April and May, you might have a shot at a bigger brown trout with a dry fly or a nymph in that scenario. But you know, you saw it yourself there, Joe, you brought your spinning rod and you threw, I don't know what you threw in there, but that brown trout couldn't refuse it. So, you know,
it was just the right place at the right time. Whatever.
That's fishing.
Yeah.
That's fishing too. Timing.
I mean, now that you just touched on this topic too, now with the mousing thing, like we've done a lot of crazy shit too, like just insane stuff, like tried weird ideas and just weird stuff. But the mousing thing's one thing we've never done. Like, how effective is that? Like,
I did try it once, Joe.
Did you really? Okay, I never have.
I did. Well, I wasn't fly fishing with a mouse pattern, but I took like this kind of like buzzbait sort of thing with my ultralight, and I went out, you know, where I know there's big brown trout in this stream, like in the middle of the woods. They're like, my headlamp ran out of battery. It was like it was the eeriest thing in the world. I'm just there by myself in the woods in the dark. And it was just so eerie. I took like 5 casts and just like, I'm getting the hell out of here. Like, this just feels like something's going to attack me and eat me.
How effective is it, Evan? Like, is it worth me staying up all night? If I know a spot where that does hold a lot of big brown trout, is it worth me trying that?
I mean, it's definitely worth trying. There's 100%, you know, especially if you know there's big browns in like a very specific spot. I would say it's how effective is it? You have to be a proficient angler during the day, first of all, before you can consider being a proficient angler at night. Yes, there's a lot of different things that can happen at night that are much more difficult to deal with, such as, you know, hooking things on your back cast or, you know, tangles of any kind where you need to use a higher test line. You're using, I mean, if you're mousing, I mean, you're using 0x a lot of the time, maybe 2x, but there's no reason to go any lighter than 2x with a mouse or spinning rod. You know, you can use they make mouse patterns for largemouth bass that'll work the same for a trout. They'll do it. They'll do the trick. You know, it's definitely effective. And if you want to catch the biggest trout in the stream in the middle of the summer, that's the way to do it.
Really?
But it's also takes a lot of commitment, and a lot of things have to happen to work correctly. Take a look
What
at
do
your
you
moon
think, Chris?
phases. Take a look at your moon phases and give it a shot. But it's not for the faint of heart, as Chris mentioned. It's kind of a die-hard thing.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't I'll never go try it by myself again because I know I'll just get like weirded out. Just like, I don't know if you ever stood in the middle of, like, the spot I'm talking about, Joe. Like, I'm there. I didn't even go all the way in.
Yeah.
I went to the first area.
Yeah, I know.
And
I know the feeling.
It's pitch black. You're in the middle of the woods. There's no houses around. And I'm just there, like, you hear everything and like you think you hear things, and it's just like, I definitely wouldn't go by myself again. But if you wanted to go, I mean, we could go.
I'm in.
I mean, it's worth giving a shot. It's not my preferred method. It's not listen, I catch a lot of big brown trout during the bright sunny days. So I kind of like being able to see. I mean, I do mouse like maybe half a dozen days a year if I'm lucky, but I don't sell it as like a number one thing that I do. I mean, I do it a few times a year and it works, but I kind of prefer fishing during the day or in the mornings, evenings, on the shoulders, that kind of thing. But
yeah, I don't know if you want to be taking clients out and you don't know their current skill level and it's nighttime and they're whipping hooks around at night. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to make sure, obviously you got to make sure your clients are cut out for it before you're just diving right into it. But
now, can you give us any dirt on Andrew Still? Because we know that Andrew Still's like the pickiest person on earth, and he's a frequent flyer at your guide service. Like, he's been doing to only you guys for years, and you're the only place he goes. Like, yeah. What's going on with him?
Oh, man. Well, I'm sure you've heard a lot of things from him online in the New Jersey fishing world. And hey, shout out to him. I hope his health's doing all right. I know he's had a little bit of a rough go lately.
He's doing good now. He just caught a striper last week and ate it. He's doing better.
Hey, what do you know? There you go. So, I mean, a little bit of dirt. I mean, he fished with my father a lot before he ever fished with me. He fished with me for maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe a couple more, maybe 5. But he's got away with jigs. I don't know if he talks about it, but all he does is fish hair jigs, marabou jigs, and that guy,
black marabou hair jigs.
Black marabou hair jigs.
And it's, I mean, he doesn't reinvent the wheel. I always say, I'm like, try a different color, this, that. He's like, no, I'm good. And guess what? The guy catches huge fish, I mean, and he catches a lot of them. The conditions do have to be, in his favor for sure. But he catches a lot of fish. He knows how to fight fish very well. So that's a huge part of why he lands big fish when he does hook them. A lot of people can hook fish, but they don't know how to land them. So it goes quality fisherman right there. But yeah, he's a character, no doubt, but always a pleasure to have on the boat. He reached out to me the other day to possibly donate a trip to a veterans organization down there in New Jersey. So I might donate a half day to them coming up.
We're doing a veterans fishing tournament, and Andy is our veteran. So
all right,
the team is me, Chris, and then Andy's our vet. So it'll be us 3.
Oh, you guys are gonna have a blast. What are you guys gonna be fishing for?
Rainbow trout and Lakers
on Round Valley.
Rainbows and Lakers, or lake trout?
Lake trout and rainbows.
Okay.
Yeah, the event is on Round Valley Reservoir.
All right, gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
So it'll be you 3 in a boat then?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Have you fished with Andy before?
I have, yes.
Oh yeah. Well, hold on, Evan. This story's hilarious. You didn't see, we did an episode with Andy.
Nice.
You have to go check it out.
Yeah, I got to dig that one.
That's the Christmas special.
Because Joe had a lot of stories about fishing with Andy, all kinds of stories, and he told them all to me.
Okay.
When Andy came on and Joe started telling one of the stories, Andy goes, "Who the hell are you? I never fished with you before." And he was dead serious. Dead serious. He had no idea who Joe was. He didn't remember him because Joe lost a lot of weight, I think, right? You look different than when he fished with you.
Andy had a stroke. I had glasses. I have contacts now. He's just blind and senile, but no, he has no idea who I am at all.
But yeah, Joe's fished with him a lot of times. Andy just doesn't remember.
No, he doesn't.
No, that's good. He's a heck of a guy. He's a good angler. He's always trolling the shad fishermen. If you didn't notice that on the shad.
Yeah, we noticed.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But
so Evan,
we made our group so that Andy had a place to troll people. We've had guys have been begging us to can you ban him? Ban Andy Still. No, we're never going to ban Andy Still. He's there. That's his job, to troll everyone. Deal with it.
Absolutely. If somebody wants to either book a trip or take a look at the different options of Sweetwater Guide Service, where's the best place for them to go do that?
Typically our website, sweetwaterguide.com is the best. I have a Facebook page as well. I deleted Instagram years ago just for my own sanity. So I don't really check my Instagram. It's still there, I think, but I don't respond or post anything. But sweetwaterguideservice.com. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not correct. It's sweetwaterguide.com. And then you could find us on Facebook as well at Sweetwater Guide Service LLC on Facebook, based out of Tyler Hill, PA. But yeah, everything's on our website. We got a photo blog on there. I try to update it like once a month if I can. It sounds like I should do it more, but you know what? I'm real busy. I'm on the river a lot. Done over 80 trips this year, and just had a baby, so we got a 5-month-old at the house. And
congratulations!
Thanks, I appreciate that. We got her on the river. Her name's Desi of the Delaware. We took her down the river the other day. So we caught some fish, got her swimming. It was a fun trip. So
nice.
Yeah.
Evan, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the NJ Multi-Species podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Yeah, we always appreciate you guys' time. And just so I just want to throw this in there real quick, because you mentioned how busy you guides are. And just for anyone listening, when you go out with a guide and you have a nice day, catch a couple of fish, have a good time, like you post it for them. Like you post the pictures. Like these guys don't have time to be on social media, like advertising themselves. I know I do. If I go with a guide somewhere, I usually travel. So I tag the guide, post the pictures. Like they need you to do that. It's part, like it's their advertising. Like tell people, don't hog it, keep it to yourself. Like show how awesome these guys are. Tell people, spread word of mouth is probably your most important advertising.
Yeah, we always appreciate the posts and everything. Word of mouth is great for us. I mean, my father fortunately has been a great guide for years. So word of mouth throughout New Jersey, thanks to Craig, Lord Almighty, and guys like Andy Still and him. They brought a lot of business to us, and you guys probably help as well here too. So we're here, and I'm not going anywhere. So if anyone wants to come out fishing, I encourage you to reach out, and we'll get you on the schedule.
That's awesome. Evan, thank you so much, man, for taking the time out of your day. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Nice talking to you.
Take it easy.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care, bud. Hey, guys, and before we let you go, we got a really special offer from Sweetwater Guide Service. If you book a trip with Sweetwater Guide Service and you mention this podcast, he's going to take $100 off your trip. So that's pretty awesome.
As always, if you have time, go over and check out njfishing.com. It is 100% free. Gives you access to the archive. Gives you access to all the reviews of all the good party boats and good charter boats and how to contact them. 27 years is the #1 fishing resource in New Jersey, njfishing.com. All right, so that was pretty cool. So yeah, right back into what we were talking about. If you do go out trout fishing or anything like that, be careful with the warmer temperatures and killing fish. But Chris, I think we have to go do that mouse thing. Like find out when the next ideal condition is, and we just have to do it. We have.
It's my understanding, basically, if you're coming up on the full moon, right, like now, like so, whenever the next, I got it on my calendar right here. You just missed. The full moon was yesterday.
All right.
According to this. The full moon was yesterday. So we should have, instead of doing this podcast, we should have grabbed Evan and went night mouse fishing, I guess.
Well, I'm going to bring up. Listen, if you want to do it, I will try it. I don't know. I have to find the lure to buy, but I want to try that.
Look, I'm guessing lure wise, anything that you can skitter across the top of the surface is going to work.
Frog is going to work.
I wouldn't use anything with like with the hooks, like the weedless hooks. There's no reason for that. So why would you? You're just gonna affect your hookup ratio. But I'm thinking, like, why wouldn't a buzzbait work? Like, why wouldn't a small, like that same size as like those mouse flies, but a buzzbait? Why wouldn't that work?
I'm sure it would work. We have to go do this. We have to. But I have to move this on. Sunday, we're going on the fishmonger. So you're watching this today's Friday. We'll be on the monger Sunday. Hopefully the fluking goes well. Jerry just switched to linging for a day because the fluking was so bad, but today went back to fluking and murdered the fluke. Today's Monday.
Is it like a day-by-day thing, or it's like the wind, is you get a south wind and it sucks and you just go ling fishing? Like, what's the deal?
It seemed like he threw the offer out there to the people that had the charter, like, and told them, like, the fluking's been bad, but I could give you another option. They went with the other option and ended up with with all coolers full of fish. Ling, they caught all kinds of shit. The fluking, he went back to fluking today and he filled the deck of the boat with fluke. So we'll see. It's 6 days away. I mean, we're going. No matter what, we're going anyway. So
and all I can say is, no matter what, I mean, I totally trust Jerry Pastorino.
Oh yeah.
If he says, if we hit a couple of spots and the fluking's not good, and he said, guys, it ain't gonna happen today for whatever the reason is, I'm wholeheartedly just gonna trust him. Okay,
sure.
What are we doing then? Ling, what can we do?
No reason to even question it.
There's no reason. I would never question. That would be stupid.
I got Mike Herman report. Oh, Mike Herman, the Yellow Dog Paddle giveaway, somebody won. That trout ended up being 22.5 inches. Two people tied for it, but the one who had the closer guess to the weight won it. So that giveaway happened on Friday. Congratulations to the winner.
You don't have the winner's name?
I don't have the winner's name pulled up. I'm looking at Mike's fishing report. Mike's fishing currently Spruce Run. He said the water level is dropping by 2 foot per week on Spruce Run right now, which is pretty fast.
That's not good. I saw that the other day too. That is not great news.
It's not great news. And I also saw that they were talking about closing the state park at Lake Pacon because of the algae bloom again already.
Jesus.
I don't know if they did that or if that was just a rumor.
Hey, real quick, I do have the winner's name from the Yellow Dog Paddle Contest.
Who is
so
Vinny?
Both? So the guys who tied on the length were Vinny Maglione, or Maglione, I'm not sure, and Michael Stevens. And the tiebreaker, the weight of the fish was 5 pounds 1 7/8 ounces, and Vinny Maglione guessed 5 1/4, so he won the tiebreaker. So Vinny Maglione or Maglione is the winner.
He won a free trip with Yellow Dog Paddle. Congratulations to him. But yeah, like I said, Mike said the water level's dropping by 2 foot per day per week. It's down at least 7 feet from full pool. The hybrid fishing has been really good. He said the hybrids are exceptionally big. There hasn't been that many small hybrids. He's been also pulling really big crappie, really big perch, and catfish, all trolling on Spruce Run. Merrill Creek.
That may not last if the water keeps going down. So
yeah,
I myself am going to try to get. I haven't been there this season yet at this time. So I'm going to try to get over there as soon as possible. I'd probably recommend the same for anyone else. That being said, if you were thinking about getting out there with Mike this season, I would consider contacting him and seeing if he has any spots in the very near
what's
future.
Making the water level drop so fast? Just the lack of rain?
Well, no, they have to be releasing it for it to drop like that.
Releasing it? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so they're using it to feed a river?
I don't know the chain of where everything goes, so I'm not
See,
even
I
gonna...
thought they always took water out of Round Valley before they even touched Spruce Run. Thought that was the reason Round Valley was built.
Maybe since they just refilled Round Valley, maybe they figured they'll use Spruce instead, if that's the case. But I'm not even sure. Like I said, I don't recall off the top of my head the chain of the reservoirs and the feeding system, but for it to be dropping like that, 100% they're letting it out.
Yeah,
that's not just from it not raining enough. No way.
Merrill Creek, he said the lake trout are suspended, still catching decent fish. He had another skillful angler, landlocked salmon, caught this week again by a client. Water temps in the low 80s at the surface, so he said they are releasing fish very quickly. But Yellow Dog Paddle still continues to do very well. He's done for the season on Round Valley, and he's now on Spruce Run and Merrill Creek, so you can call Yellow Dog Paddle. In other fishing report, the hybrid striped bass fishing on Lake Apacon has opened itself wide open during the daylight. You no longer have to stay up all night. Kronk and Mackin went out the other day and pounded them. Kronk, you could see on Mackin's page, Mackin's Ripping Lips, a couple of real nice stripers Kronk caught during daylight hours. So Lake Apacon's another option. Hybrids are biting on both reservoirs. Like Chris said, it's the dog days of summer. Hybrids are a really good option to go after right now, especially on lake. Basically, if you want to troll them, I'd go to Spruce Run, and if you don't want to troll them, I'd go to Lake Pacon. Right, Chris? Pretty much.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair statement. I did have a buddy that liked to troll them even on Lake Apacon, and you can do it. You just deal with a lot of the weeds and shit over there, whereas on Spruce Run, there's not even a comparable amount of weeds there. So it's much better trolling like this time of year for sure. Like you said,
some pretty good fishing options currently, especially with the guides. August really kind of gets tough when it just gets disgusting. This year we got hit with this disgusting July, but the guides still know what they're doing and know how to catch fish. So you could call any of them, basically.
Yeah, the fishing is good in the summer. It's just, I don't know. I guess some people like the heat. I don't, and I don't even get as hot as most other people. Like I throw on one of those UPF shirts with the buff or the hood. If it's really hot, I wet it, wring it out, put it back on. It's like air conditioning. I mean, but even so, like it's just like, and the last couple times I've been out, the wind isn't even blowing, and it's just like this dead hot air. But the fishing can be good. I mean, and then you just got to be careful about some of the species and releasing them quick. And like you said, the hybrids are a really good option because it's actually a warm water species, and it's much easier to release a hybrid. And the smallmouth is not a warm water species, obviously, but they release fairly. I haven't had any trouble releasing the smallmouths either.
Nah, largemouth either. They go back.
Well, largemouth's a warm water species.
Unless they're in a live well for 17 hours, then it's an issue.
Well, we all know where that discussion goes.
Yeah, that's a whole nother episode. All right, we're going to be back next week with our report from the fishmonger. Hopefully it's a good one.
Hey, and one more thing. Have you spoken to Jen Wong yet? I think he just got back from ICAST, or was he just coming back today?
I mean, he's back. Yeah, spoke to him about what?
Oh, I don't know. I thought it'd be cool if he had some like cool new technology
No.
that's coming out from iCast, or
He
does
just
he?
flew. He just flew in today, so maybe we could get him for next week.
Yeah, I'm
If
saying
he's busy today. No,
if
I haven't
either he
talked to him
could,
yet.
if either he could give us some tidbits, or if he wanted to even come on and
That'd be
just
awesome.
share some of the stuff from iCast. I mean,
The pictures of him wearing our shirt there are hilarious. He looks like the Terminator. Also, the Chuck Manny video part 2 is out. If you want to see what it's like to fish from Chuck Manny's boat, I released a 14-minute video that's basically uncut that shows 4 gigantic stripers being hooked at once. And I do not stop the camera. I just bleep the curse words out. But yeah, you could actually witness the madness in person. We have to get a YouTube, Instagram link to that video up. But yeah, that video is pretty cool. So check that out.
and I don't.
Anything else to say?
I know people that see the posts from Chuck and the guys fishing with him. I know they think that there's some kind of exaggeration leeway, like guys are taking liberties with the stories and stuff. It's just not. And I
Just watch
know
the
you
video.
don't believe me when I'm telling you this, because I don't believe anything I hear either. If I was in the seat of not I haven't been fishing with Chuck and you were telling me this, I wouldn't believe it either. Because it's unbelievable.
It's all real. Everything you've heard about these guys is all real. I've seen Jerry Postrino catch a keeper blackfish out the window with one hand while I struggled all day. And I'm not making that up either. It's ridiculous.
No.
We're going to see him Sunday, so I'm excited. But yeah, Chuck Manny, check out the Chuck Manny video. It is it's really just cool to see. I usually don't watch any of the shit that we post, but that video, I actually watched it, and it was cool. We will be back next week. We might have a guest or we might not. We're not sure yet. We'll see about that, what happens. If we do have a guest, it's going to be a very big, surprising guest.
Yeah,
if we don't
want to say anything about it because we can't confirm anything yet.
We can't confirm yet, so we can't say it. But he's big, or she, or
yeah, or she. If we don't have a guest though, then all they get is the Joe Fillin episode.
The Joe Fillin. I got to come up with an idea. All right, I'm going to bed. Good night. Keep on. Let Chris do it.
You want me to do it?
Yeah,
guys. Keep on suffering for those fish. And bobbers rule. Look at look what I did. I put bobbers like Christmas lights across the back here.
I love bobbers. I need light up bobbers. All right, everyone. Good night.